In your opinion, what do you think is the biggest reason why anxiety and depression has gone up?
Social media. I can go on social media for 10 seconds and see pictures of people I know traveling and having fun, and I immediately feel worse about myself, even though I know it doesn't mean anything.
I think social media has played a part.
We know too much and are too connected. I'm 40 and have spent my life both with and before phones and the internet and all that. Everything took so much time and focus and effort, we didn't have the easy access to social media to get as self-conscious and live in it 247. Or get FOMO, or some fun stuff you're not doing. Or jealous of an ex or old friend or something. Phones are the best, but the amazing convenience and information availability high-speed internet and our phones have given us has also created a paradox where we are always available, always logged in, always ingesting feedback. I love it, but there's some insidious shit to it too. And of course, phones and social media aren't the only issue as much as exasperate and greatly increase the availability of touch points for things to seep in.
I have my theory, but I read all the other comments, and they're all valid, too. So there are numerous reasons, and I don't know which is the biggest. But, for whatever it's worth, what I was gonna say is all the pollutants, toxins, radiation, etc. on our Earth now that are at an absolutely unprecedented level for humanity. I think it really takes a toll on our bodies, nervous system, and all that.
Because the cost of everything keeps going up exponentially, but wages have stagnated. It's easy to be stressed to the max when a one-bedroom apt is $1,400 a month and your weekly grocery cost jumps to over $100 and MFERS wanna pay 10 hours. Pandemic, inflation, social media, rabid political environment. Take your pick, but I think they're all working together.
Social media is the answer. Just ask Meta. They did an in-house study that proved it, especially in young girls. They decided to ignore it, anyway. Social media has one goal: keep you on the site as long as possible so they can show you ads. That's it. It's not about connecting or dialogue. It's about engagement. And it's also been proven that you engage with things that make you upset or angry more than you do with things that make you happy or joyful. People are being inundated with negativity for hours a day. Day after day. That builds up in a person.
Because everything is simultaneously more expensive and the worst quality ever.
Money and social media. I think social media has ruined most aspects of existence in general. Self-image, self-worth, and relationships being the top three.
Nearly 100 of us are addicted to our phones. Nearly 100 of us are addicted to our phones.
Where, in the UK and America, I don't think that the psychiatric conditions of anxiety and depression have risen in prevalence. I think that instead, normal human responses of stress, worry, and sadness to difficulties such as cost of living, energy prices, poor working conditions, no work-life balance, etc. are more and more so categorized as being psychiatric conditions inherent in the individual. Incorrectly, because it's easier for society to medicate those who respond normally to abnormally stressful and unpleasant conditions than to make the significant systemic changes to itself that would enable people to be happier and healthier. TLDR capitalism. In the US, we have a really poor mental health system. Just to see a professional costs a lot of money, but you might be able to afford the initial visit. After that, affording the cost is prohibitive. There is also a shortage of mental health professionals, so it may take time to find help once you decide to seek it. Most of the depression that is being felt is by lower-income people who do not have the resources to pay for mental health care or may have a stigma they have to deal with. Younger members of society fit with this particular description. They do not have the funds to seek mental health regularly, and they may have a peer group that is judgmental of people that seek help for mental issues. A lot of the anxiety and depression seems to have come from the lockdown and times afterward, when important relationships were lost by people moving, dying, and continuing to be homeschooled. In addition to that, the increase of shootings in schools and the general feeling of being unsafe in stores and other public areas. The answer to all of this would be to encourage recruitment of more students to pursue this field, more mental health facilities available in high-need areas, and more encouragement to seek help without the negative stigma. Additionally, more arranged mental health services for those people appearing to be social outcasts, loners, and those exhibiting negative behaviors that may be at risk of becoming impacted by exclusion more than normal from work, school, and social events. They had that when I was going to school. The outcasts all spent regular time with the school psychologist to resolve issues they might have. It changed a lot of attitudes.
I would say it is from being less social via in-person, which has been replaced by virtual socializing.
COVID, I think, played a big part in it, with the social distancing and worrying about our health, with social media being another reason. Social and news media.
Lack of relationships and connections. People are getting married and having children way less than they used to. The way of life in the US has changed.
I'm no expert, but a few things come to mind for young people. There's no affordable housing and very few good jobs. A lot of them are stuck living with their parents. If your parents are nice people, that might be okay, but what about dating? Is it just going to be sleepovers for the rest of your life? The internet shows us everything going on in the world. When I was young, we didn't have it. We only knew the local stuff and some of the national news. These days, it's in our faces, and it's pretty depressing. In the 70s, before all of this, we actually had some hope for the world and the belief that we could make a difference. Not anymore. TV shows and movies are more violent, heartless, and shallow. There aren't any light-hearted comedies or musicals to cheer you up. This matters a lot to our morale. Expectations are too high. People are expected to be good at everything. Whether it's parenting, cooking, cleaning, child-rearing, and doing great in your chosen career. Nobody can live up to these expectations. We're also expected to look slim, trim, fit, and drop-dead gorgeous at all times, even if we've just given birth to triplets. Nobody can do that. A lot of people believe in climate change, including me. We see the Earth quickly being destroyed, and people ignoring it and sneering at the idea. We're doomed.
Gestures to everything.
Emile Durkheim pointed out a century ago that suicides increased in both economic booms and busts. He called the phenomenon social anomie, a feeling of disconnectedness from society apparently moving on without you.
There is social equity in mental deficiencies. This was never in play for prior generations.
There's a much larger pressure to make a large amount of money rather than simply provide, and most people don't care about what you're like as a person, instead your income better than everyone else's. Everything costs money. There's nothing to do. Even if you find something, it's not as fun as you'd think it'll be. Because there's nothing to do that's much fun, there's even less to talk about that's interesting. People are way less patient and tolerant toward each other. Everyone wants everything instantly, and the always-on culture at work and in personal situations make everything appear urgent. We don't live in a democracy anymore. It's corrupted by capitalism. We devalue and dehumanize people constantly. We force them to either become economic slaves or to choose death. And there is no way out of it except dying. To elevate the immense amount of suffering that people go through, we should implement true democracy, where everyone gets to vote easily without barriers, divorce money and politics. Expand human rights to include basic necessities like universal basic income, housing and healthcare.